Hi, welcome to another episode. Without wasting much time, let's dive in, but before we do, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more revealing videos. The top UN court on Friday rejected a South African request to impose urgent measures to safeguard Rafah in the Gaza Strip, but also stressed that Israel must respect earlier measures imposed late last month at a preliminary stage in a landmark genocide case. The International Court of Justice said in a statement that the perilous situation in Rafah demands immediate and effective implementation of the provisional measures indicated by the court in its order of January 26, 2024, which are applicable throughout the Gaza Strip, including in Rafah, and does not demand the indication of additional provisional measures. The World Court added that Israel remains bound to fully comply with its obligations under the Genocide Convention and with the said order, including by ensuring the safety and security of the Palestinians in the Gaza Strip. The statement cited UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres, saying that the court noted the most recent developments in the Gaza Strip and in Rafah in particular would exponentially increase what is already a humanitarian nightmare with untold regional consequences, as stated by the United Nations Secretary-General. Israel has identified Rafah as the last remaining Hamas stronghold in Gaza and vowed to continue its offensive there. An estimated 1.4 million Palestinians, more than half of Gaza's population, has crammed into the city, most of them displaced people who fled fighting elsewhere in Gaza. Israel has said it will evacuate the civilians before attacking, though international aid officials have said there is nowhere to go due to the vast devastation left behind by the offensive. South Africa announced Tuesday that it had lodged an urgent request with the International Court of Justice to consider whether Israel's military operations targeting the southern Gaza city of Rafah breach provisional orders the court handed down last month in a case alleging genocide. South African Foreign Ministry spokesman Clayson Manyela said in a message that the court has affirmed our view that the perilous situation demands immediate and effective implementation of the provisional measures indicated by the court in its order of January 26, 2024, which are applicable throughout the Gaza Strip, and has clarified that this includes Rafah. The court's statement was issued on the Jewish Sabbath, when government offices are closed, and there was no immediate comment from the Israeli Foreign Ministry. On Thursday, Israel urged the World Court to reject what it called South Africa's highly peculiar and improper request. Israel strongly denies committing genocide in Gaza and says it does all it can to spare civilians and is only targeting Hamas militants. It says Hamas' tactic of embedding in civilian areas makes it difficult to avoid civilian casualties. Even so, the court last month ordered Israel to do all it can to prevent death, destruction, and any acts of genocide in Gaza, but the panel stopped short of ordering an end to the military offensive that has laid waste to the Palestinian enclave. The ruling was at a preliminary stage of a case brought by South Africa accusing Israel of breaching the Genocide Convention. The court also called on Hamas to release the hostages who are still in captivity. Hamas urged the international community to make Israel carry out the court's orders. Legal proceedings began after the African country submitted cause for emergency measures in Gaza, leading to a two-day hearing with testimonies from the South African and Israeli legal teams. The court issued its interim ruling on January 26 with 6 legally binding provisions, including those ordering the Israeli army to prevent acts that might be considered genocide in the besieged enclave, allow humanitarian aid into the Strip, punish incitement to genocide, submit monthly reports, and take measures to protect Palestinians. In the ICJ's order last month, it did not grant South Africa's main request, which was to order Israel to suspend military airstrikes in Gaza and to call for a permanent ceasefire. Israel rebuffed the allegations of genocide at the World Court and accused South Africa of being used as a legal cover for Hamas. After the ruling, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu rejected the decision and said Israel will continue to defend itself and its citizens against Hamas while adhering to international law. Cases under the Genocide Convention at the court have stretched for years, such as with Serbia, which took more than 10 years to reach a final decision. Cases relating to genocidal intent are among the most difficult to win. Evidence must show that the perpetrators have a premeditated intent to destroy a national, ethnic, racial, or religious group. The ICJ has ordered Israel to submit a report this month describing how it's complying with the court's orders and to keep evidence of any acts of genocide. Last week, Yoav Gallant, Israel's defense minister, said Israel will not cease airstrikes on Gaza anytime soon. Gallant, who has called Palestinians human animals, was one of 3 officials whose past statements the South African legal team's defense used. Francesca Albanese, the UN Special Rapporteur on the situation of human rights in the Palestinian territories occupied since 1967, said she is not comfortable in knowing nothing of history. Therefore, I know with absolute certainty that in 100 years, Palestinians have steadily been denied all the 3 things: justice, human rights, and freedom. South Africa began proceedings against Israel in December before the International Court of Justice under the application of the Convention on the Prevention and Punishment of the Crime of Genocide in the Gaza Strip. As a nation that fought and defeated apartheid, we have a particular obligation to stand up for justice and fundamental human rights for all people everywhere, Magwenya said. South Africa's legal defense was heard on January 11 and Israel's on the following day at The Hague in the Netherlands. It is this obligation that informed our application to the International Court of Justice to halt the violence unleashed by Israel on the Gaza Strip, Magwenya added. Magwenya said that as a signatory to the 1948 Genocide Convention, the country carries a responsibility to prevent acts of genocide wherever they occur. He added their own past demonstrates South Africa's long history of unwavering solidarity with Palestinians. Other countries that publicly supported South Africa's case include Turkey, Jordan, Brazil, Colombia, and Malaysia. That comes as Israeli forces continue a military campaign in the Gaza Strip that has so far claimed more than 27,000 lives, according to the Hamas-run Palestinian Health Ministry. The court also said it was gravely concerned about the welfare of the Israeli hostages abducted by Palestinian militant group Hamas during its October 7 terror attacks, of which more than 120 remained in captivity as of Thursday. The World Court called for the immediate release of those hostages still in captivity. Though the ICJ can issue demands on the countries it has done in the past, it does not have the jurisdiction to enforce them or the rulings on disputes between states. On February 26, 2022, 2 days after Russia invaded Ukraine, the Ukrainian government lodged a case with the World Court under the 1948 Genocide Convention and requested that it order Russia to halt military operations. The following month, the ICJ issued a fast-track decision that demanded Russia cease military operations on its neighbor. Back in 2015, after an initial application was submitted in 1999, the court acquitted Serbia of committing genocide against Bosnian Muslims during the 1990s Bosnian War in its final judgment and rejected Bosnia and Croatia's request for reparations. Thanks for watching and see you again in another episode of World Formatics.